6 o'clock couldn't have come fast enough. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our a little bit off schedule Labor Day edition of our regular City Council meeting. We'll begin with invocation followed by the salute to the flag led by Mr. Jansen. Please rise.
Let us pray. Good and gracious Heavenly Father, as I lift my brother and sister up in prayer tonight, I'm reminded of a verse in the Bible from Mark 11:22. Jesus said, "Have faith in God." 4 simple words that have such a powerful meaning. Lord, we just ask you to give us faith in decision making that lifts you up. Lord, I just ask for your faith in keeping our first responders and our military as safe as they possibly can be. And Lord, I just ask that your Son, Jesus, who is the perpetuation for our salvation, is forever glorified. And for it's in his name we pray. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This meeting is called to order. Madam Clerk, roll call.
Councilmember Golding.
Here.
Councilmember Horn. Councilmember Jansen.
Here.
Councilmember Sutton.
Here.
Councilmember Wagner.
Here.
Councilmember Wouters.
Here.
Mayor Hoffman.
Here. Moving on to approval of minutes. This should get us all caught up.
I move to approve the City Council meeting held on August 4th, 2025.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item B.
I move that we approve the regular City Council meeting held on August 18th, 2025.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Approval of the agenda.
I move to approve the agenda.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Council announcements. Ms. Golding. She tried to give y'all a chance.
I know.
She held.
I'm
held.
being slow. Welcome everybody to this council meeting tonight on a Tuesday night, and I hope everyone had a wonderful Labor Day weekend, long weekend. They're never long enough. Just want to let everyone know that we have our first budget hearing tomorrow night at 5:30. We'll be here in council chambers, and our second budget hearing will be Monday, September 15th at 5:30 here. So if you are interested in what we are doing with the budget this year, I encourage you to check out the budget online, but also you're welcome to come to the budget hearing. Also want to let everyone know, unfortunately, Jacksonville Mayor Deegan is having her budget town hall at Fletcher High School on Monday the 15th at 6 o'clock, which is the same time we are having our council meeting, and Neptune Beach is having their council meeting. So, but if you would rather go to that, we totally understand and would encourage you to do that because the budget, the Jacksonville budget impacts us too. Also want to let everyone know that this Wednesday, tomorrow, September 3rd at 7 o'clock at the Beaches Branch Library. Beaches Watch is having Beaches Go Green. They are introducing their Beaches Go Green 2.0, which is deepening their mission to connect personal health to planet health. Should be really interesting to learn about the new direction that Beaches Go Green is going in. And they will have students there who will be talking about what they are doing with their Beaches Go Green clubs. And then also, last but not least, is we've got FinFest coming up on Friday, September 12th and Saturday, September 13th. That's always a really great event, and I encourage people to come out and enjoy the event. Thank you.
Mr. Jansen?
Yeah, real quick, just to tag on to what Councilmember Golding said, that if you want to check out all the events that are coming up for the next 3 months, take a look at today's Take Two Tuesday. Jacob Ward did a fantastic job of outlining all the events that are coming up in the next 3 months. So it's a short 2-minute clip that you can catch on social media. Check it out.
Mr. Wagner?
Thank you. I wanted to take a second and just really kind of share my appreciation and some of my neighbors' appreciation for the really great program that the Jacksonville Beach Police Department put together and implemented. I'm not used to not being loud enough, so I apologize for that. But for the program that the Jacksonville Police Department put together for the beginning of school, in our neighborhood, it was very visible. It was very obvious. There was a great presence. And unlike some of the other areas of our surrounding communities, we really didn't have any negative issues or anything that happened. And I do believe a lot of that was because we had that great presence, a great plan, and a great implementation of it. So that was something I wanted to share our appreciation. And it was interesting that even walking my dog, several of my neighbors had said something about it. And so I thought that was pretty cool. And wanted to take a second, although I'm sure that the mayor would like to talk about this too, so I'm not going to go into great depth about it, but had the opportunity to attend the Beaches Memorial Walk for overdose awareness this weekend. And I do want to just say, Chris, you did a fabulous job representing the city in your introduction, and just kind of how welcoming you made that whole group feel. And I really did. I thought that was just a fabulous job, and I wanted to say thank you for that as well.
Thank you for being there, Councilor Golding. We were waiting for you to run by, but it was raining pretty hard that morning. But despite the rain, it was a really good event, and I'm really glad that we have that venue to be able to gather as a community, particularly on a tough topic like opioid overdose. Anybody else? Just a quick kind of heads up, there's going to be a pretty big military operation coming to our area called UNITAS. This is something that involves ships and other militaries from North and South America. So they'll be kicking off here, obviously operating out of Naval Station Mayport starting on kind of that weekend of the 13th. So coinciding, I don't think it's on purpose with FinFest, but we might see an increased activity of visitors here in our area. This is a great place for foreign ships in particular to come into port, because we're a good way to get to Disney and other places quickly, but we do know a lot of them will stay here in our area. So we'll be communicating with our, especially our downtown bar and restaurant owners, hotels, and others to make sure that they know that that's coming. So we'll get more information out to you as appropriate, but just know that's coming up, and it's a pretty neat opportunity to spotlight our area to several different countries' navies. Okay, I didn't have anything else. We do not have any courtesy of the floor. Our speaker cards are attached to agenda items. We do not have a consent agenda, so we will move on to City Manager New Business. I think we have Matt in the audience. Mr. Seeley?
Push the button. Matthew Seeley, Electrical Engineering Project Supervisor with Beaches Energy Services. Good evening, Mayor Hoffman, City Council. Tonight, I'd like to request your permission to award bid number 2425-03 for distribution transformers in particular items 12 through 30 to the distributor Wesco, who's supplying the ABB transformers, and items 18 through 30, excluding item 29, to WEG, supplying the WEG transformers. And answer any questions that you may have. So these, the reason why this is kind of unique this way, and not all of them, is that these are the only two distributors, suppliers that actually bid transformers on our prior approved list. So if that looks a little unique, that's why. And we will be rebidding items 1 through 10, which is primarily our overhead distribution transformers. Any questions?
Let me go ahead and get a motion on this item. Mr. Jansen?
I move we award bid number 2425-03 to Wesco and WEG for the purchase of distribution pad mount transformers.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Mr. Horn?
Clarification. I thought you said, so on the piece, in the memo in front of us says 1 through 11 will be rebid. You said 1 through 10, but I also thought you said 29 as well.
Did it again. Yes, 1 through 11. No, I apologize.
So
1 through 11 is strictly the overhead transformers, distribution transformers.
Okay, but did I mishear number 29 as well?
So WEG did not bid item 29. They excluded that. That's a unique transformer to our system, 1500 122.8 transformer. So WEG did not offer a price for that one, just ABB.
Okay. I just want to look at this rule.
Do you want me to repeat that? Sorry, to clarify. I can't believe I did that.
Ms. Golding?
Matt, so the fact that we are going out to rebid on 1 through 11, does that put us in a difficult situation where we won't have things that we may need?
Good question. Actually, we're in a really, really good situation with overhead transformers. We have a bit of a surplus, so if we get hit by any major events or anything, we're in good shape. Really
Okay.
good shape. So,
All right,
good question.
thank
Thank you.
Any other questions? Madam Clerk, roll call.
Councilmember Golding,
Yes?
Councilmember Horn,
Yes.
Councilmember Jansen,
Yes.
Councilmember Sutton,
Yes.
Councilmember Wagner,
Yes.
Councilmember Wouters,
Yes.
Mayor Hoffman.
Yes, motion carries. Second item?
I move we authorize the mayor and city manager to negotiate and execute any contract as a result of this bid award.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, roll call.
Councilmember Horn,
Yes.
Councilmember Jansen,
Yes.
Councilmember Sutton,
Yes.
Councilmember Wagner,
Yes.
Councilmember Wouters,
Yes.
Councilmember Golding,
Yes.
Mayor Hoffman.
Yes, motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Seeley. Welcome back.
Hello.
Do you feel like you were ever gone?
After the week I've had, no. Dennis Barron, Public Works Director, City of Jacks Beach. What I have before you today, I got two separate items. First item is for awarding bid number 2425 to PBM Constructors for our latest lift station number 25 rehab project. This is a special project for us. It's a smaller lift station, and so this is kind of the start of our doing a very large lift station and a small lift station every single year to get us back on track to being able to maintain rehabs in the required time frame. So this is kind of the first one that starts getting two done within a year. So that's what this project is. Second half is the construction admin, and of course the last half is the contract piece. If you have any questions, I am available.
Thank you. Motion on item 1?
I move we award bid number 2425-12 to PBM Constructors Incorporated for lift station number 25 rehabilitation for an amount not to exceed $418,255.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion or questions for Mr. Barron? Ms. Golding?
So to follow up to your comment, you said that we're trying to get caught up, so to speak, I guess, on our rehabs. Where do we stand? Because I know we've got a lift station in my neighborhood that's being rehabbed right now. How often are we planning to do these rehabs, and how many do we have ahead of us still?
Okay, so we have 38 total lift stations, and the intent for us was to do a rebuild on a 20-year cycle. So that means we really have to do 2 a year to be able to get 20 of them done in 10 years, 40 of them done in 20 years. So by the time they would all need to be rebuilt, we will have 20 years to do so. And only doing one a year was not going to get us to that deadline. So this is the first year that we started. We actually put it in the budget several years ago. This is the first year we're actually getting to construction of 2 in the same season. So that's what it is. So yeah, so now we're going to be on task to be able to do 2 a year. So where we at is when we started that, was the start of our wastewater master plan, and we evaluated all of our lift stations and ranked them from top to bottom, and then we began picking off the big ones at the beginning, and then now we're starting to add a second one to it. So where are we at? We're exactly where we need to be in relations to our master plan. We're not ahead, we're not behind, but we've got a long list of ones that need to be done and quite a few that are behind, so I don't really have an accurate to say, yeah, that we're right smack in the middle, but we're on track to being able to complete the ones as we've got scheduled.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Mr. Horn.
Just thought of something. Are we on is this a continuation of a previous cycle of like 1 to 2 per year? Or is this something that I'm wondering, like, in a few years, are we on track to make sure that we don't have a sudden failure in 1 or 2 that are behind this cycle, as you state?
Yeah, and it could always happen. The intent would be these are more major renovations, which is kind of why this one's a little smaller than some of the other ones I usually bring to you, is because we're not doing anything new to the wet well. We're not really doing a lot to the footprint. A lot of this is internals with the electrical pumps, all that kind of stuff. So that's why it keeps the price down compared to some of these where we've had expansion, we've had neighborhoods get larger. So now we need larger wet wells. We need increased volume to be able to hold it, and then new pumps on top of that. That will inflate the cost significantly. So yes, this puts us on track to being to we're not, like I said, we're not behind, and we do have funding available. If an emergency happened, we would be able to pull ahead. The intent would be we're always designing one every single year. We're rebuilding a major and a minor. Most of the time minor, we don't have to do engineering. It's just simply new pumps, motors, and maybe some electrical system stuff.
And maybe I rephrase. So, but you haven't been here for 20 years. So what I'm asking is, was this like you're continuing a process that was in place prior to you, or you're starting this process, like the 20-year cycle?
So I started the process as part of our master plans, because if you want to know where you're going, you got to know how to get there. So one of the first things I did when I got here a little over 5 years ago was we went and did a stormwater master plan, a wastewater master plan, and a water master plan, so you can identify where all your assets are and where you need to focus. Are you spending your money in the right spots? And then based on those recommendations, it helped me rank them to determine. That way I know which ones I had to hit first and which ones were going to be expensive. And then also that's where I got the numbers to be able to know how I'm going to be able to do one a little bit cheaper, is because one that's a little farther down the list that has a lower price tag, now I can match to be able to make sure we stay on budget.
Thank you very much. I just don't want to have to verbalize it and kind of process things out loud. It helps me. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Madam Clerk, roll call.
Councilmember Jansen,
Yes.
Councilmember Sutton,
Yes.
Councilmember Wagner,
Yes.
Councilmember Wouters,
Yes.
Councilmember Golding,
Yes.
Councilmember Horn,
Yes.
Mayor Hoffman.
Yes, motion carries. Item 2.
I move we award the agreement with Alliant Engineering Incorporated for construction administration services for an amount not to exceed $16,390 for this project.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, roll call.
Up my head.
Oh, sorry. Mr. Jansen?
Just real quick. So does the construction administration get bid out like through an RFP, or is that awarded per the company? Or I'm used to seeing Jones and Edmonds in there.
And it depends on who designs the project. This particular project, we again reached out to one of the additional consulting engineers that would added to our list when we bid those in 2021. So the list was expanded from 10 to 20. So we added more contractors, more basically engineering firms to do business with. So we picked one we haven't done any business with. We offered them a lift station project. They engineered it for us. So that's why this one's going to Alliant, is Alliant's the one that actually did the original design of this lift station, the project that we're talking about. So we usually try to follow, because One of the neat things is because they know the most about the project, that means they're also the most educated about the project when it comes to the back end and approving what was installed, where, make sure everything lines up with what was supposed to be done. So that's the part that they're doing, is some of the as-built stuff. Not a lot on the inspection on this side because there's not a lot. We'll just do that in the internal and the submitting. But a lot of times they'll be answering questions back and forth and then prepared to do other stuff that's required. Sometimes there's survey, sometimes there's site underground work that's involved as part of that construction admin side too.
As long as they pass the Barron prerequisite list, then I'm good.
Well, they got on the list. So, I mean, like I said, we've got a repertoire of 19 we can use. So, again, it's just trying to spread some of the work around to, more than just the ones you hear
Sure.
about all the time, because it's the ones we've had for 20 years.
Sure. Thank you.
Any other questions? Madam Clerk, roll call.
Councilmember Sutton,
Yes.
Councilmember Wagner,
Yes.
Councilmember Wouters,
Yes.
Councilmember Golding,
Yes.
Councilmember Horn,
Yes.
Councilmember Jansen,
Yes.
Mayor Hoffman.
Yes, motion carries. Item 3.
I move we authorize the mayor and city manager to negotiate and execute any contract as a result of this bid award.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Madam Clerk, roll call.
Councilmember Wagner,
Yes.
Councilmember Wouters,
Yes.
Councilmember Golding,
Yes.
Councilmember Horn,
Yes.
Councilmember Jansen,
Yes.
Councilmember Sutton,
Yes.
Mayor Hoffman.
Yes, motion carries. For the next item, we do have 2 speaker cards. So Dennis, Mr. Barron, if you would go ahead and give your report, and then we will hear from our speakers.
Okay, so the next item I have for you is awarding bid number 2425-07 to AWA Contracting for Central and South Basin Culvert Improvement job. It's a little bit of a misnomer in the statement. I kind of talked about it in the memo. The original job was including Central and South Basin. This work is only at the Central Basin area. So the title's a little misleading. There is no South Basin. There's no tie to the South CRA. This is only in the Central Basin going all the way across. So on the map you can see above, there's 4 project areas identified in this project. The big rectangle, that, and it also includes all the way up to the weir wall, is including to clean out that basin and restore it to original permitted capacity. And then the 3 circles are identifying where there's going to be more roadway style construction. It involves basically adding another box culvert under each one of those intersections. One of those is the cart path at the golf course. One of them is 9th Street or South Beach Parkway if you go a little further south, and the other one is Fairway. So as part of this, we bid these so that we could control the construction, because obviously these are 2 of the 3 main corridors going north-south through Jacksonville Beach. So we know there's no way we can take out the culvert on Fairway and wipe everybody out going that way, and we can't take South Beach out at the same time. Everybody would be on A1A to move north and south, or all of the other cross streets. So we put some limitations in the contract language that will not allow them to construct them both at the same time. They're trying to work to keep one lane open if possible, although there was some bidding costs to trying to keep one lane open. And as part of it, we also did a opportunity to do a pour in place culvert underneath 2 of those 3 roadways. So that's going to AWA is the company that put a bid deduct. Basically, it's cheaper for them to do a poured in place than buy precast and put it in there. So we've asked to execute that option. Obviously, it saves us money in the long run. This is the same group that did the double box culverts that are on the other side of JTB. Happened about 5 years ago, where they came across in front of Chick-fil-A and turned and went down. And this is the same company that did those poured in place box culverts. So it's 2 projects combined into one, but it's actually really 4 projects. The overall timeline, I had some conversation with Ms. Golding about the timeline. The overall timeline for the entire project is 18 months. That does not mean they're going to be spending 18 months in the Central Basin cleaning it out and 18 months in all these intersections. The whole entire project, to include both of those major roadway rebuilds and the one on the golf course and all of the basin work, is a total of 18 months. So we're expecting Fairway is going to be impacted probably at least 6 months of that. 9th is going to be impacted 6 months of that. The basin work can go on as they can see fit, but obviously they're going to have a lot of trucks moving muck in and out, and they're not going to need to be restricting their traffic. So I'm going to guess that's probably going to be first. don't know what their really construction timeline is until I get to that point. So that's my first part. I'll do the courtesy of the floor, and then we'll go on from there.
Okay, thank you. Tony Komarak, if you want to come on up, give us your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes to address the council on item C.
Hello, my name is Tony Komarak. I live at 533 11th Avenue South with my wife Cheryl. And you guys have really supported the citizens. But there's a very poor lack of communication with all the neighbors. They're going to tear up the 12th Avenue South Park. And there was no information given to anybody. All the details of this project are vague. How's the park going to look like after it's redone? What type of fencing will be there? What park amenities will be removed and replaced, like the playground? You know, it appears like the Park and Recreation Department was not involved in this drastic dig up of the park. It's affecting all my neighbors on 12th and my neighbors on 13th. They had no information. Now, he just said it's going to be 9 or, I forget how many months that 9th would be closed. So they'll be going down my street and 13th Street unless they can repair 9th in an adequate amount of time. So, we use that park quite a bit. It is a nice neighborhood park. What I suggest is putting in a detailed project information. Ask why this wasn't presented to the neighbors before it was presented as I know it needs to be done, but it wasn't presented to the Parks Department. Put up signs months before this goes in so people using the parks know when it's going to be closed. Another thing is hours of operation. A lot of people, east of 3rd Street have been complaining about, diesel trucks and backups of the bulldozers starting at 7 a.m. Oh, we're not working. We're just preparing the site. The thing is, I'm saying keep the citizens involved. That is important. And that was totally missed on this. So what I'm saying is show me where this was put on the city website. Show me when the citizens were notified. And please, pause this until communications go out to the residents. Thank you.
Martha Backer, come on up. Didn't say if you wanted to speak or not, but I'm going to take the context clues of you heading towards the podium that you would like to address.
Real well. Can you say
Okay,
that?
yep, come on up. Just give us your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes. It's just part of our routine when you come to the podium. You just give us your name and address, and then you'll have 3 minutes to address the council.
One of the other things I'd like to see before we start this is, I think I said it the last time, is maybe one of these videos where the people are presenting so I could see, it's easier anyway.
We're getting there.
We're getting there.
We're screeching into the 21st century as we go.
I found out this morning because Tony is back on his screen. My name is Martha Backer. I live at 410 13th Avenue South. I've lived here 11 years with my husband, and I'm very happy here at the beach mostly. But I would say that when you used our area, our park area for laydown, we were out of a park for, it seemed like it was about 2.5, 3 years. And it was a lot of trucks, a lot of piles of dirt. So what Tony said, I concur, and we already have, because what you're doing in the other parts of town, the trucks are filling up with dirt and coming down 13th Avenue South, which I sit outside and read a lot. And so I see these big trucks going by with dirt in them all the time. One of the other things is the communication. Since we don't have the beach's leader anymore, people have to be proactive to look up and see the videos you were talking about. And somehow we need to work on that communication part too, I think. The lay down, is it going to be like taking over that whole park to be able to do all this work? That's one of the questions. The noise, like what Tony was saying, there are neighbors that are right next to where the pumps are. When you have to dig out the muck, you have to get the water out. Let's see. The communications would be better. We knew this was going to happen. I mean, it's not like we haven't seen y'all surveying it. Not you, but, it's been out there and we've been watching. And we weren't happy necessarily because we were kind of concerned you were going to have concrete going the whole way and concrete the bottom. And I think that's been put on hold to see if this works because this way the water gets to go down. I was when in what you're talking about, disposal of sediment removal and disposal of unpermitted bulkheads. I'm not quite sure what those are. Are those the floating railroad ties that are on the side? I'm not sure. And then I do want to know what it's going to look like after. If you can do that with landscaping, are you going to take trees out? I'm a big tree person. And one of our neighbors is most concerned about the turtles having access to be able to get out, so you know about that. Okay, well, thank you very much for listening, and it's good to see you all here. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Backer. We just have 2 comment cards there, and we'll go ahead and get a motion, and then we'll open it up for council questions, and Mr. Barron can respond to some of those comments.
I move we award bid number 2425-07 to AWA Contracting Company, Inc. for the Central Basin Culvert Improvement for an amount not to exceed $4,950,424.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Mr. Barron, if you want to address a few of those concerns as you can.
I'm not sure I caught them all, but I did the best I could to try to catch some of them. So there's 2 kind of park areas along this, and we've got them both identified they were even identified and asked as one of the questions from potential respondents to the bid. And the question was, can we close the park? The city's answer back to anybody bidding for this job was the city anticipates the park along the north side of the basin adjacent to 12th Avenue South to remain open or partially open during construction. Temporary fencing shall be required during construction for safety and security purposes. So the part of the park that involves the walkway and all the trees along the north side or the south side of 12th is going to be open probably the entire time because they have to be able to get in and out with trucks, but they're going to do the minimal impact to that entire area. The second one was involving the park on the east end where the last project ended. That park is not really a park, and I don't know how to explain that, but it was as the end of that project, the last project we did at the Central Basin, there was an area there, and we took advantage of it by putting in some park equipment, and it became a park. So yes, it's going to be impacted as part of this construction because that's where there's going to be a lot of trucks coming and going. To what extent, I don't know. If they can fence around that park and keep it open, I'm sure we're going to opt to keep that park open. But I can't speak to that until we get beyond the award of the project and onto construction. So then I can begin to deal with whatever contractor we're giving it to determine what is their intention and what is their plan. Are they coming in and out there? Are they coming in and out on the north side? How are they doing it? What are they fencing and what can remain open? All I can say is we're still at a project level at this point. It's been through our CIP for 5 years, so it's not a new project and it's been coming. And it's a stormwater-based project. This project is 100% about moving the water out of the entire city and out the Central Basin section. So that's part of the importance as to why it's done. As far as communicating with all the homeowners, I'm not sure what individual addresses are going to be affected or not because our MOT, the requirement for when they close that, is not going to be send everybody down one block and over. Just like it's not going to be to cut them over to 10th and through the Lynx parking lot and around the other direction. People are going to find ways and workarounds that are outside of the detour that says turn here and go back to here and get that way. I can't control those. So I don't know that I can speak any further to the traffic. There is a requirement of 2 electronic signboards at each of those major intersections during this entire project. So I could have up to 4 message boards to be able to be out there to be able to tell people where they can and where they can't go, or is one lane open, or are they both open, or drive a different way for 6 months. Whatever that message needs to be will be what be communicated to everybody. So like I said, we are still months away from the beginning of construction on this project, so we're months ahead of the communication. While it's important, I agree to communicate with everybody on the project, I can't communicate and tell you what's happening on a project we're not awarded, and I'm not given permission to be able to start or even be able to get to a construction date. So I don't know how I would be able to proactively talk to anybody more than what we are right now, simply because we're not there. We still may be 6 months before we see a truck or even start on this project. But until I know that, until I have a contractor, I can't begin to start narrowing those conversations down so I can give something back to the public outside of that. The bulkheads were exactly what you said. It's the railroad ties that were put into the basin that kind of made it flatter. I don't know who did it. I don't know when it was done. I don't know how, but it was done. When we got to our point for looking at that basin, that was one of the things that was brought up, that those were unpermitted. Whoever did it either didn't file the right paperwork before, after, and during, or that paperwork never got filed, that paperwork got lost. I don't know, but regardless, is they weren't on the original permit as it was designed, so we're taking them out to put it as it was for the original permitting piece, and that's what that is. I don't know when they were unpermitted and put in, but they were done by Public Works, I was told, and it was made it so that we could mow the banks of that because they're not as steep. When nobody seems to know, and nobody, unfortunately, is wanting to step in front of that bullet, so just taking them out. I don't know if there's any other questions. If somebody wants to remind me, I'll be more than happy to take it from there.
And just to kind of clarify, like, this is a stormwater basin, and the addition of the walking path to the north, and most recently, very recently, the playground equipment on the east side, those are additional amenities to make this a nicer, more kind of user-friendly area. But the point of this area is stormwater drainage. So I'm glad that we can kind of keep that, as intact as possible. I could imagine Parks and Rec would be like, do what you need to do because this is a stormwater basin. But did you have you had, and it is premature even probably to have had that conversation, but have you had, that was one of the questions that was brought up, is have you had
that was again another question in addendum 4 was, can we relocate the park playground equipment at the eastern end of the basin? Our answer, as officially given to the contractors, was the city Parks and Rec department will remove the park equipment and replace it after the box culvert construction and desilting of the central basin work is complete and the contractor restores the grounds to an acceptable condition. That's in the case they have to take it out. I don't know exactly until I see what their plan is. Are we talking about 30 trucks a day going in and out of here? That's going to be a lot to try to manage with kids in a playground, so I wouldn't know why it wouldn't be in our best interest. But I mean, if we can fence it and keep it open to the public, we're going to fence it and keep it open to the public. But if it becomes unsafe or a security issue and we have to close it and take out the stuff, then it'll be going back in the same aspect as what it was. We helped Parks and Rec to build that. We'll help Parks and Rec put it back when it's done.
Thank you. Mr. Wagner.
So the nice thing is, by listening to Dennis, we have somebody who knows what they're talking about, which is fabulous. But I think there was a theme, and it's a theme we've had with several other projects. So it's great that we're continuing to be reminded by folks about it. And I think, Dennis, because you even laid out kind of your thought process on going through the work. So I think once we get to that point where we have that pretty good feel, would it be okay for us to request, Mike, that we get Jacob involved and do a couple of broad communications to get people in the loop, and then maybe touch on a couple of these environmental issues that were raised as well, like how we're going to make sure the turtles are taken care of and some of those other types of things, because those are things that weigh on people pretty heavily. So as part of that process,
I understand. I'm not sure we have a turtle mitigation process with this because, like I said, the first thing is going to be pumping and bypassing around this. Keep in mind, we are still in storm season. So anything they start between now and November, they're nuts because it might all have to be ripped out of there tomorrow because we've got something on the horizon
Right.
that we got to do. So I don't expect them to even start this until we get post-storm season regardless. But number two was I'm not sure exactly how they urge the turtles out of the pond, but I'm sure the turtles will find their way or we'll help them as we need to get them to the other end of the basin where there's water. Same thing goes with the birds. I think somebody brought up a question about the birds or the other wildlife. I mean, that's unfortunately, these aren't protected species, so there's not anything that says we can't just do what we're going to do. And I'm sure there are going to be some turtles that get mucked out in the process of being buried in the muck at the bottom that are going to end up drying and have an opportunity to escape before they get hauled off and go to somewhere else. So they always have that opportunity for our convenient relocation program.
Yeah, we know it's hard to get to perfect on these type of things, and I'm really not trying to set that as an expectation, but I think we can get a little better at kind of getting people in the loop. So I think, and I know you've done it many times, and hopefully we can just make sure we don't miss that box on this one. It's just a matter of sequencing and timing, as you said.
And there'll be a lot of communication because I'm going to want to make sure I'm letting you guys know before we're taking Fairway out for the potential of 6 months. I don't expect it to be near that. And I don't really know until we get to the award of a contractor and I can sit across from somebody and they can really tell me what they want to do and how they want to do it. But until we get to that point, I'm kind of stuck with some of these things that could happen. But like I said, part of it was to try to keep half open, but that requires a lot of extra bodies. And you also have safety instances while you're trying to replace half of a culvert. And then you got to do the other half. And so you got to move everything. So there's a lot to trying to even do that and keep it open. Really makes it extend out the length of time, where it's an easier convenience to close it for a shorter amount of time than it is to be one lane for 7 months. It'd probably be significantly better to just be closed for a couple and be done rather than the other one. So I'm going to communicate with all of you all about what's going on, as well as we're going to be utilizing the message boards to be able to hand that out. We will have a project flyer as soon as this goes from a project on paper to an award, then that's when we'll convert it over and actually turn it into a project page, because once we can tell you who the contractor is and everything else, then we can actually put a page on the website that identifies this project, tells people what it is, and it kind of identifies those impacts as well.
Breaking news, feels like the air conditioner just kicked on, so rest. I heard some sighing over here. I wasn't sure what that was. Ms. Golding.
Thank you, Dennis. So a few of the other questions that I'm not sure got addressed. What are the hours of operation for the project?
So the project will run under the same noise ordinance that we do under every other project, which is 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Friday. We do allow them to work weekends with approvals if they ask, and if it makes sense based on what their project needs are, depending on what they're doing and how they're doing. They're not supposed to be out there running beepers at 7 a.m. Hopefully they get there, they park their truck, they wait quietly till it's time to start, then they begin firing up and get everything going. But we'll be on them about their hours of operation to make sure that they're not exceeding that. And I say 8 to 8, they're not going to work until 8 o'clock at night. Most of them, nobody wants to, but sometimes you end up with that last truck that's delayed or something happened and you hold things up, or they decide they can do one more truck and it takes them a little longer. So I don't expect that they're working anything beyond outside of our normal operating hours, to be done by 4 or 5 in the afternoon anyway.
Well, certainly if it's in the winter, it's going to be dark before 8. Are they typically going to stop before it gets dark, or are they going to be having to use lighting? You don't know?
You got to give me a contractor, and then I can start answering those questions. Yes, ma'am.
And you may not be able to answer this either, but do you think any trees will have to be removed for this project?
I don't believe there was call for any trees, but if we do, of course, we follow the same rules that we require everybody else to do to replace in kind. So in the event we have to take out 12-inch trees or whatever we end up having to do, we'll be replacing trees as we need to and as we have to, just like we require everybody else to do.
Okay. And let's see. And want to thank you for mentioning the updates on the city website, because for the residents that are here, our Public Works Department does have a website, and they will post their information like the flyer that he mentioned. So you can get updates there and contact information about who to contact if you've got questions, comments, or concerns. And then also you'll put road closures on there as well.
So the road
correct?
closures will go out just like we do. We require the contractor to hand out flyers. If it's going to be short term, yes. If it's going to be a long term, we're going to do the same thing on steroids because we're going to make sure we get this communicated out, because it's a giant waste of time to spend a lot of time driving down Fairway to find out you can't get anywhere and you have to turn around. So, I mean, I know a lot of this is the communication. It can be a far away from where the construction is, but that sometimes just makes people think, oh, there's no construction, I can get through here, and then they drive all the way down and find a bridge out, basically. So that's, I mean, we're going to do our best to make sure we don't have that instance going on, but we still have people that live there, and on both sides of some of these areas, especially like Fairway, you know, we have there's a house right there on both sides of that of this where this crossing is going to go in. One of them's not going to be able to get to their house an easy way, no matter which way it is, no matter which one of them it is. It depends on where they at and where they got to go. It's not going to be convenient for a while. It's just the nature of the business. And unfortunately, these areas where the culvert's at, this is also where everything necks down for our water. So when you're trying to think about how important this is, it's great that we've got a big trough of water. The whole goal of that trough is to move it to the east. And the first thing it does is it hit 9th Street, which is like a funnel, and it says, okay, now all of this water get down into this much room. And then it comes back out again, and then it goes back again at the cart path, and then it does it again when you get to west the other way. West. When you get to the west, it does it. Every single one of these is actually a constriction, which is why we're enlarging the size of those culverts across there, is to move the water out.
So one last thing in follow up to what Mr. Wagner said. I would just request that you guys be super vigilant, whoever it needs to be, if it's Jacob or whoever, in keeping the website updated, because I know in the past we've had some issues with projects not getting updated. So that will help with the communication a lot too. If we can, whatever that plan is, we make sure that we keep that up to date.
That's the intent.
Okay.
This is a high priority. We know it's a high priority. It's, like I said, 2 of the 3 major north-south arteries through the city, and at various times they're going to be closed or open or in various states of disrepair. So we've got to hit this one. We can't be making a mistake.
Thank you.
Mr. Horn?
To Ms. Thacker and Mr. Camerack, apologies for our perceived lack of information. I know when you see something like this on the agenda, it appears like there's going to be trucks rolling through your driveway tomorrow, and I just want to make sure, obviously there's a little bit to this, and I appreciate Director Barron, explaining that this does have some time, but we can always do better in regards to the message that we send, the information that we give. One of the things I'll recommend to your neighbors, is that make sure you follow up with us, make sure you follow up with Parks and Recreation Department, make sure you follow up with Public Works if there's any concerns that you have during this. This is a bit of a longer project, 6 months possibly in your area, but at the same time, we're serving you, but we also have to serve all the other citizens of the beach. So I want to comment directly to these folks out there because I have the chance, and we'll get a chance to speak. But we're, trying to do this to make sure that we be able to get all the surface water out of the way for the rest of the city, so that when we ride down 3rd Street during a storm, you don't end up in a submarine. One thing, I actually have a question for Director Barron. One of the things you brought up was the discount as far as poured in place culverts versus the preformed.
Yes.
Is there any, and again, pardon my lack of understanding of this, I'm not an engineer, but is there any long-term benefit to one versus the other? I mean, are we going to be replacing something sooner rather than later with one or the other?
There's not a life expectancy difference, because at the end of time, you're still dealing with concrete, whether it was poured outside the ground in a mold or whether it was poured in place like this one's done. I really can't address this to the importance as it is to this project. What we saw was a deduct of about $124,000 on one of the 2 projects. And hold on a second. The second deduct was $93,000. So the project overall, it's almost a $220,000 discount for being able to do a poured in place. We had fantastic results from when we did the double culvert, going off and in front of Culver's and going off to the west from there. When we did that one, which was underway when I got here, that was done by the same company using the poured in place process. So we don't know until we can get them at the table. They might have a different idea. Well, I know what we're hopeful for. I don't want to speak it out loud because I don't want to have it go out in the universe and not happen. But we'll see what happens, because they have an opportunity. You're using a poured in place. They don't necessarily have to stay with standard dimensions, if you make sense as to what I'm saying. Instead of having to put a hole that's 3 foot by 3 foot, it can help us move water farther out. So we'll see where they end up and what they hope to do. This could result in removing other culverts and putting a bigger culvert in place that has less opportunity for plugging, less opportunity for restrictions. That could be what's on their agenda. I'm not sure until I can get them at the table and have that discussion to find out what's this discount get me.
All right.
But their process is, that this is the way they prefer to do it. So,
And if we've used this company before and they've done good work, I'm happy to see that, because, obviously I'm always happy to see more than one bid come through. It's always nice to see, some competitive bidding, and there was some significant differences in some of the bids here. So I'm happy to see that. And if we're able to save the citizens $200,000, even better. I would just say, just make sure we do the best we can to communicate with the citizens and keep it as usable as possible for the folks that live around there.
yes, sir.
Any other questions or comments? I'll just go ahead and belabor the point that communication on this one, and I'm just thinking about the folks that live at 4th and 12th and how terrible that last big project was for them. And I know you inherited that one. I'm thinking about how many texts I'm going to get from my dad when he leaves Plantation Oaks and turns right, and especially the stormwater project going on the other, the 900-day project going on the other side. The south end is really kind of in it right now as far as construction projects, and even the Fairway Lane people. There's no real easy way to go the other direction if they're trying to head south. And they just got done dealing with the America detour, which looks fantastic, by the way. I think that one was well worth it. But then also just to point out that we have a hospital over there that's going to be impacted. School, you have Avante. In other words, we have some institutions over there that I think can help us amplify that message of when we are going to have road closures. Let's make sure those key people know, because people coming in, I can imagine a lot of employees at the hospital probably come down Beach Boulevard and cut through Fairway. So I think anything that we can do to help amplify that communication, I would say we're willing to do. Years ago, it was before you, they were cleaning out the culvert just along the golf course section. And my question was, why wouldn't you go all the way? Why wouldn't you clear all the way out to where it goes into Cradle Creek ultimately? So, because if you have one section that's clear and the downstream section is not clear, that doesn't really help you. Just curious about, are we going to go all the way down with this, or?
Stay tuned for the next projects.
Spoiler
Yes,
alert.
we have to start at the beginning and work our way. So we did have another project to do exactly the same thing on the South Basin. The recommendation was that based on the amount of muck, there was no return on investment. In other words, do the project if you want to spend $2 million and know that the water's moving through there and not dropping dirt, because you're not going to clean out much, but you're going to make a big show. So we determined not to do that project. So again, that was surveying and making sure that was this a good project or not good project. Another one we do have coming is going from the weir structure out. Keep in mind, everything from the weir structure out becomes tidal. That's why the rest of that ditch becomes, water goes in, water goes out, stuff goes in, stuff goes out. So it's hard to even keep that section clean just because of the amount of stuff that comes back and forth just in the tides on a daily basis. So that is going to be important, and it is coming as additional. Like I said, we have to be, not can we just move the water, east to west? Now I got to keep moving it west, or it's going to bottleneck at the next spot and not get out.
Thank you. Mr. Wouters.
Mike, I have some specific questions. Am I supposed to wait till after we make a motion? Okay, thank you. Like echoing Mr. Komarak's comments about, detail and a general thing. In your scope of service under Section 300, it was posted online in your materials. It talks about the work that you were requesting. Are you going to be tearing out that sidewalk? The 800 or 900 feet of sidewalk
I don't expect so, but I'm not sure. I don't know what's exactly in section 300 that you're speaking of, and that document's over 1,000 pages most of the time by the time I get done, so I just didn't bring it with me, so I don't have it. So I can look it up and try to get back to you. I mean, because I don't remember calling out sidewalk in this line item, so unless it was included as one of the other pieces.
It's not in a line item, that's why, but it was in the scope of service. So I just want to clarify that.
I'm not sure that I can speak to that, Mr. Wouters. I'm sorry. I apologize.
This is what I was talking about. Because that would be a very expensive piece of sidewalk. And I also have another question. Regarding the 30-inch timber rail fence, what is the purpose of removing and replacing that?
I'm assuming it's because they got to set a construction area, and then they've got to be able to get trucks in there and be able to get trucks out of there. So you can't put trucks on a slope like this and then load them and expect that they can move. So I'm going to imagine they're going to have to put something in there somewhere. But like I said, again, I haven't talked to anybody, contractor, to know, are you going to move everything to the north and move it out on the road on the north side or on the south side, or what are you doing? I don't know those answers. So I'm not sure that I can give you the logistics of how they're going to do it until I can be able to get with them.
I would certainly hope that it's necessary, given the cost is, nearly $200,000. And so just from 4th Street to 9th Street, it's 5 blocks. I would guess, based on what in my neighborhood, we're talking about 800 or 900 feet. What would you reckon it would be?
I don't have an answer for you for that.
Okay, because most blocks, at least where I live, have like 5 houses and are 50 feet wide. But my point is say it's 900 feet divided by $183,000. That's like over $200 a foot to take out and replace this fence. It seems like a lot of money for a little fence. I was wondering if any of my colleagues might think that we could do better on the fence. We could possibly amend this to get a more affordable fence.
Which line item are you looking at for
I'm
the
looking
fence?
at number, is it 12? Remove and replace 2 rail fence. It's a 30-inch fence. It's got 2 posts, and then it connects with the cross beams.
Right.
2x10s. Because I was looking at it today, I walked the park and the sidewalk is perfect. It definitely doesn't need to be replaced, but I don't know. That's just a thought. I'm trying to think of ways to be a good steward of our citizens' money, and that just seems like a lot of money per foot.
So the bid that came in was $65 a foot for that fence at a total of 2,824 foot.
Am I not understanding what I'm looking at?
Well, that's the remove and replace 2 rail timber fence, 30-inch tall, 2,820 foot, 24 foot long, $65 a foot was AWA's bid for a total of $183,560.
So perhaps I don't understand what I'm looking at. What's 183,000?
Correct. So that says, so I think this is on the bid tabulation page, number 12. I think what he has, but I think that there's actually you got a bid tabulation. The one, I'm not sure where that came from.
Am I looking at this wrong, David?
But, or is that in, I think that is in the next agenda.
I know this is a low bidder, because you can see this bidder, he was like $65,000 cheaper.
Well, keep in mind, we don't manage the project by line item.
Okay.
So we're managing the project overall. So some of these costs can sometimes seem way out of whack because they choose not to try to hide their profit in particular line items. And some items, it's obvious that that's exactly where they're putting all their profit at, and you can see where it's at. So, unfortunately, we don't bid it by line item, and we don't come back and, if it makes sense, we can do something different. But if somebody's got to remove it and then come back in 6 months and replace it, to hire a contractor to do that twice, and you explain to them straight up, I want you to do a half a mile of fence, come out and take it all out, haul it all off, and then I want you to come back at some other time and put a half mile's worth of fence in to be able to get it at $65 a foot. That's as part of the project. That's the price that was bid. So that's what we would be awarding at this point. If we shorten it up where they don't have to take it out, obviously that's based on if they take it all out and have to put it all back. But if for some reason they don't end up needing to do that, that can be a cost savings on the back end.
I don't begrudge them making a profit, but this.
But I think the part that you're looking at, if you look there, it says 2,824 linear feet at $65 per square foot. So that's the quantity next to it, not the 900. So probably you're almost looking at almost 4 times what the original, I guess.
I don't know where the 2,000 feet is coming from.
I would assume
It's
that's
half a
all of the
mile.
area. I would assume there's probably more.
Well, I walked it today. I mean, it goes from 9th to 4th. That's the only 2-rail split fence. I walked everything. So I would like to get some clarification on this. If I'm misunderstanding what I'm looking at, that's fine. I make mistakes all the time, but
Mr. City Attorney?
Just, Mr. Waters, I just want to echo one thing that the Public Works Director mentioned is that, ultimately, there's a lot of line items that are all added up that comes to the bid price.
right.
And, this contractor was lower on several of them, but then they were higher on some of them. But those individually, we're not looking at that. We're looking at ideally the lowest price was subject to other criteria. We're looking for the lowest responsible and acceptable bidder. So while that fence price was higher than the other bids, their total price for the project, the total base bid plus the alternate number 1 amount came in the lowest. And that's why the city staff, I believe, I don't want to put words in Mr. Barron's mouth, but that's why they're recommending, a chief reason why they're recommending this contractor. Because although that line item in your view is very high, they still came in, once you tabulated everything together, as the lowest bid.
Right, I understand that.
I think to Mr. Wouter's point, it's not necessarily the price on its own, but it's the amount of linear feet that is there. That's the multiplier for all 3 of the bids. So can we just ask that you just look into that and confirm? Because there may be fence that you're not seeing that might be elsewhere within this project that's included in that total.
Oh, because if it's not necessary to take it out, which maybe it is, but if it's not, I'd like to see that money saved for other things.
Noted. Any other questions or comments?
No, thank you very much, Dennis.
Mr. City Attorney, did you have any other comments? Councilwoman Golding.
Just real quick, I looked at the site plans or the plans, and Mr. Wouters, there is fence removal that's going to happen on the south side of that entire drainage ditch. And there's also fence removal on the north side. So I think that's why the number is so large, because there is fence on both sides that's being removed. Because if you think about it, that fence is there as a safety thing to keep kids out of the, falling into the stormwater pond. So I think that's why the number is as big as it is. That's just my guess.
The other item of point 2 is it is by the foot. So we will have somebody out there measuring to see. So if it comes out to being less than this, we only pay, when we get a quote like this, we only pay by what they actually do. So we quote 2,824 and we ultimately go out there and measure and it's only 2,820, we'll save 4 feet. They won't pay 4 feet of cost. And so that'll just kind of get absolved at the end. And then whatever funding is left comes back to the funding source that it came from.
I hope I can follow up with you in another day, and we can just so I can understand what's going on. I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from council? Madam Clerk, roll call.
Councilmember Wouters,
Yes.
Councilmember Golding,
Yes.
Councilmember Horn,
Yes.
Councilmember Jansen,
Yes.
Councilmember Sutton,
Yes.
Councilmember Wagner,
Yes.
Mayor Hoffman.
Yes, motion carries. Item 2.
I move we award the agreement with Jones Edmonds Engineering for construction administration services for an amount not to exceed $114,850 for this project.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any further comments, Mr. Barron? Any
No,
questions?
then this is just the construction admin that goes with it, and of course we'll be helping along with some of this too.
Questions or comments from council? Madam Clerk, roll call.
Councilmember Golding,
Yes.
Councilmember Horn,
Yes.
Councilmember Jansen,
Yes.
Councilmember Sutton,
Yes.
Councilmember Wagner,
Yes.
Councilmember Wouters,
Yes.
Mayor Hoffman.
Yes, motion carries. Item 3.
I move we authorize the mayor and city manager to negotiate and execute any contract as a result of this bid award.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments from council? Madam Clerk, roll call.
Councilmember Horn,
Yes.
Councilmember Jansen,
Yes.
Councilmember Sutton,
Yes.
Councilmember Wagner,
Yes.
Councilmember Wouters,
Yes.
Councilmember Golding,
Yes.
Mayor Hoffman.
Yes, motion carries. We will move on to our only ordinance of the evening. Mr. Miggott, would you like to give us an update or staff report?
Certainly, and don't let me prevent the ordinance from getting read by title if I can carry on.
Do you want me to do that first?
Whatever order you want to proceed in. I'll go ahead and give a summary of this and first. So this is something we looked at a briefing earlier this summer, proposing minor changes to our emergency management ordinance. I want to briefly refresh your memory on two main aspects of proposed changes. I might go in opposite order that they appear in the ordinance in case you're following along. That's just how I wrote it up. I'm sorry. First off, I'm proposing that we add language in this ordinance which would amend section 2-193 of our code, specifying the ways that a state of emergency may be extended as needed in 7-day increments. And the other main change is to remove existing language that grants the mayor authority to take command of the police. For extension, again, as I just said, allowing the state of emergency to be extended as needed in 7-day increments. This is in accordance with state law. Our authority to do that is in chapter 252 of the Florida statutes. And what we're proposing is that city council have the authority to, of course, extend a state of emergency at a regular or special meeting, but also the mayor or mayor pro tem, and finally the city manager or his or her designee. And the reason we want all those abilities in there is because things are often chaotic. There's a lot of moving parts when we're under a state of emergency. We don't want our state of emergency to expire for various reasons. So that just gives us a better way to enable us to extend state of emergencies as necessary. This will help protect the health, safety, and welfare of our residents. It should also optimize the city's ability to comply with relevant FEMA documentation requirements and better prepare us to be reimbursed for our costs. The second thing is command of the police. There is language in our existing ordinance that allows when there's a public danger or emergency where the mayor may take command of and govern the city. This authority is expressly permitted in Section 4 of our charter. I think in reality, this would only occur probably if there was an unforeseen and potentially catastrophic emergency that were to occur. It wouldn't happen if a hurricane was coming, where we generally have advance notice. Nonetheless, the charter does allow the mayor the authority to take command of the city. However, what the charter does not do is grant the mayor authority to command the police. And when I touched upon this in July, I believe we spoke about it. I think Councilmember Golding, I think you asked if I could possibly find any more info on that. And I went back and I found that it was inserted in 1991, but the minutes did not indicate any reason why. This ordinance was last revised in 2003. The language remained in there in 2003. But now state law already grants broad emergency management authority to the city during a declared local state of emergency. So it's my legal opinion that explicit authority for the mayor to command the police force is not necessary. Additionally, in a worst-case scenario, I'm concerned that this could cause conflict. We have a fairly thorough, what's called a comprehensive emergency management plan that we update, I believe, annually, that has procedures and policies in there. And I'd like for there not to be a conflict between an old ordinance and our up-to-date emergency management plan. and thus it's my legal recommendation that we remove this language from the city code, on the command of the police. So with that refresher of this proposed ordinance, I'll gladly answer any questions, and I know the clerk will also at some point read the title of the ordinance.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, will you read the ordinance by title?
An ordinance of the City of Jacksonville Beach, Florida, amending Chapter 2, Administration, Article 7, Civil Emergencies, Section 2-193, Authority to declare and extend a state of emergency, activation of disaster plans, to update and clarify procedures for declaring or extending a state of emergency, providing for legislative findings, repeal of conflicting ordinances, severability, Scrivener's errors, codification, and an effective date.
This ordinance is before the council for a public hearing and consideration on its first reading. I will now open the public hearing on ordinance number 2025-8227. We do not have any speaker cards on this item. Would anyone in the audience like to speak on this item? Seeing none, public hearing is closed. Can I have a motion?
I move we approve ordinance number 2025-8227 on the first reading, amending Chapter 2, Administration, Article 7, Civil Emergency, Section 2-193, Authority to declare and extend a state of emergency, activation of disaster plans, to update and clarify procedures for declaring or extending a state of emergency, and schedule a second reading for September 15th, 2025.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Mr. Horn.
I have a question about it. It says, so just the other part, can it be extended? Requires the governance. This is should everything exceed 72 hours, smoke, danger, emergency, requires the governance of the city by the mayor should be extended. This may be authorized for a period not to exceed 5 days by an affirmative vote of at least 5 council members. Do we have to codify how that occurs? Because in the state of emergency, you just mentioned a moment ago, a special council meeting, or I think I'm trying to remember how you said it a moment ago, but is there anything that we have to put in here, and this is just for my own clarification, about how that vote occurs? Can it be via email, text message? Does it have to be, do we all have to be in the same room? Obviously in an emergency, I'm just asking.
So generally, the sunshine law will still apply unless the governor will generally declare a state of emergency. That language could remove the necessity for the sunshine law to apply temporarily. Nonetheless, I might be more talking about Section 5, not Section 2. So redirect me if I stray too much. We're going to have council members who, and this could happen a year from now, this could happen 20 years from now, that are going to have 50 different things going on in their personal and professional lives at the exact same time because of the emergency. So even with the relaxation of the sunshine law, we want to have as many, subject to some checks and balances, as many ways possible of extending states of emergency. And that's why Section 5 is proposed to be added. As to Section 2, and I think you were reading from that section in your question, that language, if it was up to me, I think we would remove that language entirely, but it's in the charter right now. So what I've tried to do is give us other language that doesn't conflict with our charter. So that 5 days would be if the mayor were to take command of the city. But if we, as you'll see, what I'm proposing to change from number 2 to number 3, but the language doesn't change at all. The city council already has the authority to declare a state of emergency in the ordinance. So what I'm trying to do is when they declare it, or as the next paragraph says, or the mayor or mayor pro tem or city manager declares it, I want the council, the city government, to have the ability to extend that more easily in 7-day increments.
Okay.
There's that weird conflict with the 5 within 5 days, but I think we need to keep that language in there because of what's in the charter. I don't like the way they mesh together, but I think that would apply more in as I mentioned in July, kind of an unforeseen and catastrophic emergency where we don't even have time to draft a state of emergency ahead of time.
And I was more kind of addressing just the mechanics of the actual vote.
So we don't. So there's nothing anywhere out there that, because again, obviously, knock on everything, that we haven't had to deal with this. At least I haven't in my time here, and hopefully never will. I just want to make sure that we haven't stuck ourselves without the ability to. We're okay.
We're okay because elsewhere in the ordinance, it could be declared by.
As long as you're comfortable with it.
Yes.
I just have to ask, and then I feel comfortable. Thanks.
I think an example of that was with COVID, where we were allowed to have remote meetings during that time, but it came from the state down to the local governments. Any other questions or comments? Madam Clerk, roll call.
Councilmember Jansen,
Yes.
Councilmember Sutton,
Yes.
Councilmember Wagner,
Yes.
Councilmember Wouters,
Yes.
Councilmember Golding,
Yes.
Councilmember Horn,
Yes.
Mayor Hoffman.
Yes, motion carries. Before we adjourn, I just want to recognize the newest member of the clerk's office who is down. Can't even see her. Michaela, wave to everybody. She survived her first council meeting. If you haven't had a chance to meet her, please stop by on your way out this evening. And welcome, Michaela. Welcome to the city of Jacksonville Beach. We're happy to have you. I know our city clerk is happy to have you. Hence all of our minutes being caught up. I'm done. That was it. That was it. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
I declare we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Hi.
Any opposed? Meeting adjourned. Have a good rest of your week, everyone.